that the verdict will kind of like really get close to that line.
Yeah. And we love easy way outs.
Yeah.
So since that's an easy way out, and then you have the self-fulfilling prophecy where you're now focusing on money, you find $5 on the floor, you're like,
I would meet these guys and like they would know all the 5 points of Calvinism, they would know all the solas, they would know all the theology, they would know all the things, and then their lives would be train wrecks.
yeah.
Ruslan.
Did you keep up with the Bill Johnson endorsements of Physics of Heaven from Bethel?
I saw they rejected it.
Mike
again,
Winger
right?
doing a video on it,
Yeah.
and then them subsequently taking
Removing
it down.
yeah.
You see that?
I knew of it because of your channel.
Yeah.
But I didn't dig too deep into it.
Yeah, and again, Bill Johnson, you know, this is a Bethel Music is a huge name, and here you have stuff, and to their credit, they took it off their site.
That's a good sign.
It's a good sign.
It's a good sign.
But this spiritual heroin is flowing in. I mean, at the very least, you got to acknowledge that it's adjacent to Bethel, even though it was straight out of Bethel. But let's just say they renounced it and they backed away from it. That just goes to show how like pervasive this stuff is. It's in a lot of these circles, and it's in a lot of these things. Bill Johnson, the verdicts, right? That the verdict will kind of like really get close to that line and get real new AG with it, you know, but kind of not fully cross over into the Orthodox stuff. Excuse me, not cross past the line of Orthodox.
Yeah.
So, but he definitely toes the line there. And so I think this stuff is over. And I think my hope is in the same way this stuff needs to be called out and exposed, I also hope that we can lay out actual ways to do these things properly.
You know, that's so crazy. Me and Gio were talking on the way here, right? So my book does a great job at letting you know that believing in the law of attraction is not the way to go. The gospel's in there as well. You know, I made sure that at the end, I also have a whole apologetic section of what, you know, some reasons of why I came to Christ, right?
Yeah.
But I want to come up with a little ebook. It doesn't have to be anything huge, but what can we as Christians do?
Yeah.
You know, because Philippians 4:8, you know, also be transformed by the renewing of your mind as well.
Yep.
You know, there are biblical places that you can find that God is telling us to work on our minds, right?
Yeah, I absolutely. And I think the tough part is what I encountered when I started seeing breakthrough. And my breakthrough did not happen in some supernatural, magical way.
Gradual.
It was gradual, dude. I grew up very poor. Me and my mom, you know, were refugees. Mom split up, grew up on welfare. My mom had a bunch of boyfriends, abusive dudes, just a mess of a childhood. So when I became an adult, like I didn't know jack squat about financial literacy, even though, ironically enough, there were classes. I remember my math classes, my junior year of high school. There was classes I was taking senior year of high school, like trying to teach me what credit was, trying to teach me what these things were.
Where did you go to school?
Vista High School.
Wow.
Yeah. And
shout out to Vista High School.
And I didn't listen to any of it. I ignored all of it like an idiot.
But at least they did it, man.
But they
at least
tried.
they did it.
And so, you know, I wake up, I'm 23, newlywed. My wife is 21. And bro, we had over $100,000 in debt. You know, we ended up settling on the biggest account, negotiating that one down, but we ended up paying off over, you know, close to 50,000, 45, 50,000 using the Dave Ramsey baby steps. And I don't agree with everything Dave Ramsey preaches now, especially like 15% on, 15-year mortgage. Like, I think that's nonsense if you're anywhere coastal. Like that might work in like Houston, that's not working in San Diego. So there's some things I disagree with them now, but I think the progress of walking through getting financially literate, living out Proverbs, having a plan, having a budget, having an emergency fund, debt snowballing, and that all of that catapulted me to become more business savvy, which catapulted me to become a full-time creative entrepreneur as a musician when I went full-time in 2015. But what I discovered was I would go to these conferences. I would go to the Man Up conference, right, which was Lecrae. This is like Reach Records when they were really starting to take off. When they're speaking to men, and it was dope. But I would meet these guys, and this is through you probably weren't a Christian yet, but there was a massive reformed and restless phase.
Oh, I've looked into it. I don't believe I became a Christian in like 2012, 2013.
So this is right around that time.
Yeah.
This is when John Piper's flaming hot. This is when Mark Driscoll was just completely huge. This is
Elephant Room stuff.
Elephant Room, right? So all of this stuff is exploding, and it's resonating with young men, right? It was masculine. There was attributes that were good. It was very logical and lofty, but I would meet these guys because I would be the guy that would do the show in front of 3,000 people and stand at the merch table and meet every single person, even if they didn't buy anything. I just wanted to meet people.
Yeah.
And I would meet these guys, and like they would know all the 5 points of Calvinism. They would know all the solas. They would know all the theology. They would know all the things. And then their lives would be train wrecks.
Yeah.
Their finances would be train wrecks. Their marriages would be train wrecks. They'd be hanging on by a thread. And I'm like, dude, there's a disconnect. Like, we know the truth, right? And we have all this lofty theology, but when it comes to how do we practically live this stuff out, it's just a big mess, right? And I think there's a huge bridge there that can be communicated of like the gospel isn't just going to make you healthy, wealthy, and rich and famous, but the gospel, when your heart is transformed and you're born again, gives us ways of God that are so good that even people who don't know God can implement the Proverbs, can implement Ecclesiastes, and see the benefits of it, right? And so I think there's just a huge chasm there, man, that like Christians are struggling with. And that's why stuff like the law of attraction seems so appealing. Is like, yeah, man, I believe in Jesus. I believe in this, but like, I'm still broke.
Hey, you want to see something kind of crazy? Over 75% of the people that watch this channel are not subscribed. Please consider subscribing and turning your bell notification on so that you don't miss anything we have going here. All right? Peace.
You're trying to fill holes that are in your life. You know what I mean? And when the law of attraction comes around and tells you things like, if you just focus on abundance, you'll have it. If you just focus on your perfect body, you don't even have to worry about what you eat. Just don't think fat thoughts. You know, if you focus on the spouse of your dreams, you'll attract it. There's no work included in it. It's just your mind has to be there. And we love easy way outs.
Yeah.
So since that's an easy way out, and then you have the self-fulfilling prophecy where you're now focusing on money, you find $5 on the floor, you're like, oh, I knew it, right? So it's just self-fulfilling prophecy. But so going back to when you were talking about the physics of heaven, just that title alone is an oxymoron, right? Because physics is the study of the physical, physical world, mass in motion and stuff like that. Heaven is supposedly immaterial, right? I mean, we know, new heavens, new earth, all that stuff. I don't want to get down that.
There will be a new heaven, new earth, physical
resurrected
world,
bodies, physical bodies, all of that. But heaven, in the way they mean it, as far as other dimensional, the spirit realm. So one of the issues that I have with the law of attraction claiming that science proves that the universe is one with God and all that stuff. They dig into quantum physics and the double slit experiment and all of this that says, if an observer isn't present observing this microphone, then it doesn't really exist, right? So all of that, which then leads you to an infinite regress of observers. But they think that because quantum physics is spooky, it's weird, right? There's dozens of theories of why things work the way that they do at the quantum level. But since it's weird, weird equals spiritual. And that's just not it, because quantum physics, although it's not like, us touching this table right here as something physical, it is still the study of the physical universe. So to equate that with spirituality, it's a self-defeating statement, And this is my problem with like the misuse of the word energy or vibrations or frequencies. Because they claim that science proves their worldview, they're now forced to use scientific terms, but they misuse those scientific terms. But to me and you who don't have master's degrees or doctorates in physics, we hear them talking that stuff and we're like, oh yeah, well, he sounds like he knows what he's talking about. And then we believe things, and then we buy books like The Physics of Heaven, and we start actually believing that these people know what they talk about. I think it's something like less than 1% of people who graduate college in physics, even less than that graduate in something quantum. So whenever
very few people actually understand
Yeah.
quantum physics on a tacit level.
I have a whole chapter in my book on quantum physics, right? I call it the Wu-Tang Clan, right? And it's because it's the quantum Wu gang, right?
Yeah.
And I initiate people into the Wu-Tang Clan in that chapter. And I'm not claiming to be an expert on this. I'm just saying, guys, look at what actual quantum physicists say about quantum physics, and then look at what these handpicked quantum physicists that agree with The Secret, look what they're saying, and look what the majority of science is saying about what they're saying.
Right.
And for you, so Rhonda Byrne in the book, The Secret, says, I never paid attention in science class, but now when I read complex books on quantum physics, I understand them perfectly. And because I want to understand them, I understand them perfectly. And I'm like, lady, even quantum physicists are saying that we don't understand quantum physics fully. Right. So for you to be, I just have a really hard time believing that New Agers and, people like Dr. Joe Dispenza and Rhonda Byrne and all of these quantum physicists, quote unquote people, Deepak Chopra claiming that he knows about quantum physics. I have a really difficult time thinking that you guys have the one true explanation of quantum physics when all of these other quantum physicists are like, nah, we don't think that one's right.
Right.
Hey, if you want to see the extended version of this podcast, completely unedited, consider partnering with us in our online community for as little as $5 a month. In exchange, you get access to these podcasts as we stream them live before anyone else gets to see them. You get access to the replay of our daily after party streams, access to our private Discord server, access to discount codes, and so much more. So help us continue contextualizing the gospel through media, podcasting, and YouTube, and partner with us for as little as $5 a month. Also, be sure to follow us on the Spotify podcast app, on Facebook, and on Instagram. We're constantly posting content there that I think you'll find extremely valuable. All right, I'll see you over there. Peace.